everybody. Just gonna wait 2 seconds to make sure my YouTube stream is working right. I think it is. It seems like it's really behind. It is working. Okay, hello everybody. Time to fade out my theme music and get started. Hi, thank you very much for coming and welcome to Robots for Distant Musicians. I've got all sorts of echoes going on here. I don't know, is it echoing for everybody? We'll see. Send me a message if you hear too many echoes. I think I have a lot of stuff running on my computer at the moment, so we'll see how it goes. Welcome, I'm Jan, and I really need to figure out what is doing that echoing. There we go. Okay. Hi. Let's actually start. Welcome to this online event, which is simultaneously running on Discord and on YouTube. I'm trying my best to show everybody everything that I can on both of those platforms. We'll see. I apologize to one or both platforms if it doesn't work out. My name is Jan Sesnak. I am here in the Game Lab, in the MICA Game Lab in Baltimore. MICA is the Maryland Institute College of Art. It's an art school, art university in Baltimore, Maryland, with a really great game design program. And I've been here for the last 2 years. I got a sort of bonus pandemic year as game designer in residence. The game designer in residence position means I get to teach and also make stuff and research stuff at the same time. So it's kind of a dream job. So it's been brilliant. It's coming to an end, and this project that I'm going to talk you through now has been the kind of big final thing for me, and it's been a really fun thing. I've made robots for distant musicians. So I thought I'd just start right away by showing you one. Let's show you one. I hope it works. I need to turn it on. While it turns on, I'm going to switch my cameras because I've got multiple cameras because I'm cool like that. That's what cool people have, is multiple cameras. There we go. Okay. Are you working? It works, mostly, which is about as much as I can hope for. So it's, what is it? What are the robots for distant musicians? They are musically controlled robots. So I've made 6 of these, and I'll talk you through them all a little bit. It's really fun. Basically, they respond to pitch, right? So as I played a different musical pitch on my trumpet, the direction of travel of the robot moved. It moved around. I managed to get it quite close. So this one has a little microphone built into it. You can hear it twitching around as I talk. Boop, boop, boop. And the thing I had to change there was the sensitivity. Turned out I think I was playing a bit too loud for it. Anyway, so there's a little sensitivity knob. Otherwise, it moves in a direction when I play a pitch. Okay, so far, pretty fun, right? And once you set this little robot with a task, then essentially you've got a game, right? If the task is get over the hill or push the ball around or whatever, then I've got a game. But it's a local game. It's a local single-player game. I've imagined that potentially I could stretch it into a 2-player game, a 2-player kind of local multiplayer game, which would be really fun. But I was really interested in making a fully online multiplayer game. Now, how did I do that? Well, I've made them into fully multiplayer musical controlled robots by using Discord or other voice channels. So to give a quick demo of that, I've got Lucy Holland here, frequent collaborator and just wonderful person and amazing person to work with. Highly, highly recommend working with Lucy. She is up for anything. Lucy's going to jump into the private bot voice channel, which I think you can all see, and is going to drive around that robot. You ready to do it, Lucy? Okay. See you later. And she goes. Let's see how she does. Come on, Lucy. Drive us around. Yeah! I tried to signal to her there that she could come back. I'm going to tell her she could come back now, but you can tell that she's working. I'm going to go pick up the robot. You can say hi to her. So, well done, Lucy. You managed to do it. Good work. It worked. That's pretty exciting. So well done. Thanks for that, Lucy. Well, Lucy will come back to play some more robot, do some more robot play towards the end. But I thought that I'd give a bit of background on the whole project and let you know, give a description of what the project is about, because yeah, it's robots, they drive around and it's funny, but I think there's both kind of conceptual reasons that are interesting for conceptual aspects that are interesting for the project, and also technical ones. So let's do it. How did I make this? How did this thing come about? Well, let me flip over to this one. There we go. So, Robots for Distant Musicians from the Mica Game Lab. Now, last spring, March 2020, everybody was faced with a brand new reality, and that reality was the sudden need to learn how our computer audio settings work. Suddenly, literally billions of people in the world were like, audio settings, interesting, and opening up these windows that they had previously not even considered the possibility of existing previously. The one on the left is the Discord audio settings. The one on the right is Zoom. I'm sure it's familiar to everybody now. And this is just so fascinating to me that suddenly, as everybody shifted online and everybody started talking online, all of a sudden all of our sound and all of our audio, all of the communication that we were doing through sound was suddenly really subject to this kind of monolithic, obscure, strange kind of middle company stuff, right? We were suddenly, all of the sounds that we were used to just sending a sound across a room to talk to somebody. Well, instead now we had to send our sound to some giant company that would do a ton of stuff with the sound and then send the sound over to the person that you're trying to talk to, right? And that's a super fascinating thing for me, that suddenly we're subject to the whims of these companies and the coders in the companies. And those companies will all have agendas, right? And they'll all be trying to get us to use their products in a certain way. And they'll all have, desires for what they want, how they want to use you, because right, these tools are all free, so that means we're the product, we're being used for something, and so our voices are being used for something, and they all have assumptions, right? They all have assumptions about what we want, or what sounds we want to send to the person we're trying to talk to, and all of these kinds of things all get wrapped up in these, and then what we see is, they get wrapped up into these giant packages, and the tiny little windows we see into those packages are these settings, these preferences, these audio preferences. And I find it totally fascinating, right? There's just so many things in there to dig apart. So I started to play with this as a platform last spring, and mainly to try to figure out how everything worked, right? What is actually happening to my voice when I speak into a Discord voice channel, or my voice gets streamed to YouTube, or whatever. That's a really interesting thing to play with, and by extension, what is this new digital reality that everybody sunk really deeply into last year? It seemed like we're escaping it, but now who knows? We'll see. But I wanted to explore that. So I started playing around with a group called the Tinderbox Orchestra in Scotland, along with Lucy, who's helping me with this presentation today. Lucy is kind of gathered a bunch of cool people together, and we started experimenting. This is a video of one of the experiments we did. So that one was super fun, and this screen capture actually shows the actually kind of what was going on behind the scenes, which was all of these people. You know, we would get up to 10 or 12 people at once, maybe playing instruments, making sounds themselves. We were using Zoom. I was taking that sound from Zoom, running all sorts of manipulation and sampling and stuff on it, made in Pure Data or other tools, and then trying to send all of that sound back to them, right? To kind of with the idea of making a kind of collaborative right? Like collaborative sound making game experience, like therapy session, I don't know. Here's another one that actually shows those tools in action a little bit more. So these tools were like, the outcome of this was some really like super awesome psychedelic jam sessions, right? Like they were totally fun. We had a lot of fun playing with them. But there was also a great number of learnings, and actually it really just generated a ton of discussions between me and Lucy and the other Tinderbox people about what was good about these, what didn't work, how could we, is there something we could do with all this? And it was a very difficult thing to try to play with, but we did learn a number of things. The first thing we learned, there are three main points. That the settings for these tools are mega obscure, right? It's virtually impossible to actually know what's happening with the sound on an online tool when you're using it. There's just like way too many layers. We're totally buried in a just like layers and layers of these weird kind of extra settings. I mean, if we go back to this setting on the left on Discord, there is noise suppression, okay, cool, which is outsourced to some other company called Crisp, what they're doing, some kind of proprietary audio noise cancellation stuff. Then separate from that, down below, there's echo cancellation and noise reduction, right? And there are actually several more settings even below that, right? So there are all these things happening to this sound, and we can turn them off, I guess. But as you can see I really admire Zoom's honesty for this on the right, where it says suppress background noise. The 4 settings are low, medium, high, and auto. Like you can't even turn it off, right? It's just like we are going to. I mean, the choice of the word choice there is really interesting. Suppress, right? Like it really has echoes of a kind of a totalitarian state, right? Like we will suppress your thoughts or complaints or something on one of these 4 settings. You can choose one. You can have it low, or you can have it auto. We can decide, you know. And so these things are, you can't even turn them all off. And then on top of it, what does that even mean? Like, I challenge you to click on that Learn More link and actually figure out any technical reasons behind what's actually happening there. So that's number 1. Those settings obviously will reflect the audiences that they're kind of trying to use and manipulate and worked with. So it makes a lot of sense there. It also kind of, the more I thought about it, the more I started settling on this idea that the sound that we are listening to now the sound that we experience is foreign, right? And foreign is a problematic term in a lot of ways. But I think there's something kind of, there's 2 elements to it. There's the first that I was finding then when I worked with people like the Tinderbox Orchestra, that if I took a recording of their sound and played it back to them, they wouldn't recognize it. People wouldn't recognize their own sounds, right? It would become foreign to them. Because of all of this processing and because of all of the settings, they would no longer recognize the sound that they had made themselves, right? And then there's a purely there's a legitimately kind of practical term. In practical terms, it is foreign as well, right? Our sound is being sent to who knows where, right? It's being sent to a server in Belarus or in India or in Nevada or something to be processed, manipulated, routed, and sent back to whoever we're trying to speak to. Our sound is almost certainly going to become foreign at some point. But it's this like kind of visa-less travel, right? But in return, you have to trade all of this data. You have to trade your control over the settings. You have to trade your privacy, most likely. So it's being sent through all these compressors and algorithms and servers and everything. And of course, that's something we're willing to compromise on, right? There's a positive and negative to traveling across these borders. And the third thing, which was really the most striking to me, was that sound is now asymmetric, right? The sound that I hear is not the sound that I'm hearing right now, is not the same as the sound you're hearing. You know, this is a perfect example of it in a lot of ways. It's the sound that I would hear when I was working with the Tinderbox Orchestra. I would be creating this kind of rich, wonderful, granular kind of stereo soundscape thing. I'd send it back to them, and they would hear just like weird little garbled stuff, right? And then in like every single time I would take these sounds and I'd record them and eventually get them to download an MP3 to listen to the sounds that I made, and they'd say, oh wow, it didn't sound anything like that to me, right? So what we're left with is this really asymmetric relationship to sound, which in the past, if we're speaking to each other in the same room, well, there would have been some asymmetry, of course, but like it would have been much more kind of understandable and much more on the same page. Nowadays, we live in two different worlds. We live in the speaker's world and the listener's world, right? And this goes down to every level. It could sound amazing to me, but that's because, you know, that's an amazing illustration as well of an imbalance of knowledge, right? An imbalance of knowing how these settings work and understanding how to manipulate them. It's an imbalance of access. It's an imbalance of me having a high-speed internet connection here, but somebody that I'm speaking to in Ethiopia maybe not having a good internet access. And it's, as an extension of that, it's an imbalance of privilege, right? I've got these microphones that I have, and I've got nice headphones, and somebody else is sitting there on like the cheapest phone, the best phone they could afford to buy, and they're trying to just like get by on this Zoom call with that phone, right? So there's all these huge imbalances that are illustrated in the sound. So I then took some of these ideas and applied them to a class that I was teaching in the second semester this past year called Experimental Digital Sound Games here at MICA. A bunch of really amazing students playing around with various sound ideas for using sound as the basis, digital sound as the basis for creating games. Which resulted in a few really bonkers experiences, including one of the early activities I got them to do was they had to collaboratively, in one class, this was like a little mini workshop thing, collaboratively design a game to control me to move around to find something. So they decided they were going to make sounds to control my movements. I think this was pitch-based. Anyway, you can see me sort of you can't see my mouse, but sort of like where there's the little red barns, you can see me on this little screen here, and you'll see me move around, and you'll hear everybody trying to control me.
You can talk to me and tell me. Okay, here we go. Spinning, spinning, spinning. Spinning, 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 spinning. Spinning, spinning, spinning. I don't know why I feel the need to say spinning while I'm spinning, but here we go. Okay. Okay.
Boo! 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 Boo!
Big boo!
Yeah, so that was a good time. It was a pretty funny exercise that worked like really poorly. You know, it was a great illustration of like how sound is a really kind of not very good method for control. But I was, of course, already at that point playing around with robots, and I thought, what if I was the robot? What if people were trying to control me, but they couldn't use words and they could only use sound? So I had covered my eyes, walking around as carefully as I can in response to this crowd shouting, making different sounds at me. There were there were a number of really brilliant student projects. I don't have not nearly enough time to show them all, but two of them, Bao and Nguyen made this really brilliant sound game using the Tinderbox Orchestra to perform music based on a sort of generative poem phrase system that they made. So here's a little, very quick example. It worked really well in kind of long form. So that was sort of a system for controlling musicians through words. So it kind of, again, it was playing with this kind of asymmetry of control and understanding and applying that to a kind of a really wonderful set of metaphors that worked really well for the orchestra to play. And then this was Lila Church's project. Lila took a script from a book and assigned different characters to different musicians. So the characters were, the musicians were actually reading a screenplay and converting it into music in real time, which was pretty hilarious. So that worked really well. So both of these projects really, to me, showed me how the sound is now even more inefficient than it ever has been, right? Sound has always been a relatively inefficient method for control and even for kind of communication. It's like relatively efficient for communication in some ways, but it's all for in terms of control, in terms of games, it's extremely inefficient, and the sound already, and the internet has now made it obscure, foreign, and asymmetric, which means that now it's like wildly inefficient. And inefficient control is by far my favorite method for game design. So that's what led me to the robots, basically. So that's how I started to work on robots that were controlled online and turn them into a game. The first version, I actually have them here. The first version of the online controlled robots used these remote control car kits, which worked really well, actually. The reason they worked well was that the controller, it was really great for prototyping, I should say, because the controller this is the hacked apart controller, but the controller was basically made up of these teeny tiny, there they are, little like proto board things that just had 4 buttons on them. It was just left, right, forward, and back. And that's actually what attracted me to them in terms of hacking them apart, because buttons are really easy to hack, right? You can just tap into them and tell them to flip on and off. So that's how I did that. The downside, of course, was that this robot could only go forward, back, and then like sort of turn to the left and sort of turn to the right. But it did work. Show you a little video of it in action, I think. Yeah, here we go. There it goes, zooming around. Now, what's happening there, that little wooden box that you see there was an early version of this one. So the controller is is ripped apart. The remote controller for the car is ripped apart, put into this little box. This is the original antenna for the box. And there's little microphones built into it. And initially, all of that was being run off off my computer, off a PD patch, which looks like this. So you can see that number as I'm talking is actually flipping around, and that's because it's tracking the pitch of my voice. If I sing a note, boop, it jumps up to MIDI note number 66, which is like what's that, like an E or an F, something like that. And the way this patch works is really very simple, really. It takes it tracks my pitch, it tracks the pitch of the audio as it's being listened to. It's just taking this microphone that I'm talking into now, right now. If that pitch goes over a certain threshold, which is what the knob on the robot is doing, then it will turn on the motors and then spin the motors in one of a number of directions, and it uses MIDI for that. So it's really very basic, and it's using built-in tools already. So the actual code part of this, which is on GitHub, if you're interested, you can get all this stuff and download it and have a poke around. But the actual code part was probably one of the easiest parts of it. Tweaking it to make it actually work responsively and figure out the right control mode and everything was maybe a little tricky, but we can get into that later. So the second iteration, I wanted to make it all entirely self-controlled, and I wanted to have more control over the movements. So I changed it into a 2-servo kind of tricycle. So there's a free wheel in the front, and then 2 servos. This particular version I ended up ripping apart, so I can't show you in person, but this video shows it more or less working. So as you can see, it became much more responsive at this point, and was able to move 360 degrees of movement and really very quick response. So in this case, I started having a rechargeable battery built in, and yeah, 2 servos, and it was still using an improved version of my pitch tracking and all of that. So that was the second version. And you can see there on that board that I'm using a Bella microcontroller. So I'll give a quick talk through all of the technical stuff in a little bit, but you can see that's all that PD patch I just showed you. At this point now, in that prototype I just showed you, was running fully on that little microcomputer on the board. So it became a fully standalone robot. And the next iteration was to try to make it a little bit more solid, because that one I just showed you was obviously just made out of cardboard. Here's a version with me playing trumpet, and I started prototyping different ways of building a body for it. Now this one kept falling backwards, so I ended up making it a much flatter and wider wheelbase. So the next version I made looked like this. This is where is it? Here we go. Not enough hands. Not enough hands. Here we go. So there we go. This was the kind of the final prototypey version that I made. And you could see it has this is where the wheels would go, the servos, the servo motors, then a free-wheel here to spin around, and a little flag so that I could see it as it moved around behind me in my studio as I tested it out. And you got to see the battery, the 2 controllers, the microcontroller and the microcomputer, little power management chip, and so on. So that was the kind of final prototype. So that was all working great. There were a few, that last version I showed you there, well, we'll talk about that later, it doesn't matter. There's so many different little things that I can tell about. That last version that I just showed you there with my dog sitting there, what I was actually trying to do in that video was I was exploring different kind of control inputs, and that one was actually a volume controlled input. So the louder I played, the faster it went. And I was really exploring a lot of that type of kind of advanced interaction. Turned out that most of them were really deeply unsatisfying. So the volume one in particular, for example, was pretty satisfying for me to play. When I played it and I played louder and it moved faster, it was pretty fun. But what's really interesting is that when you watch a video of it, you really don't get the impression that I'm playing louder, just because there's all this obscure audio manipulation going on before you get to hear the sound. And the sound is being compressed when it records, and so you don't hear that volume change. And so in an interesting way, I had to ditch that as a control mechanism because it just didn't come across to the audience, and that if I'm aiming this to be an online multiplayer game, when you're playing it, you need to know that your volume is controlling something. You need to feel it, and you would not feel it You would not feel it once it had gone through all that obscure control method. And then on top of it, volume doesn't even really exist on these platforms. It's kind of all or nothing, right? If you like go below, it's really quite hard to get a quiet sound across on Discord or on Zoom or something. We had one of the examples of the games we played in my experimental sound games class. One of the musicians was playing this deliciously delicate little bell, like ding. Except the problem was every time she played it, all that you could hear on Discord was ding, because Discord just decided that that long tail of quiet sound was not important for us to hear. So that kind of thing, it ended up being that, like in many things with game design, the simplest control method ended up being probably the best. So the final kind of crucial part of this whole project, which I had been sort of putting off till the very end because I was quite pleased with how it was all working so far and I wanted to make sure it worked well locally, was to connect it to the internet. And so this is me kind of connecting the first version ever to the internet, where, so on the upper left corner of this, whoops, you won't see my screen. Here we go. So you can see in the upper left corner of this screen grab, I'm in another part of the building, and I've called in on Zoom, I think. Yeah, I think this was on Zoom. And again, here I am, and I'm about to play. And I scored a goal. You can see me doing that twice. There we go. And that was really, that was the first time that I had managed to kind of control, but over a distance, a robot that through the internet to do a task and to complete a task. So that was a really kind of like big moment for me. So I was really pleased with that. I should mention at this point as well that you can probably tell from that, you might be able to tell from that, that I was streaming all of this work on Twitch. So each week I was kind of trying to do a little bit more work on this on Twitch and showcase it to the world. Of course, Twitch didn't archive any of that, and I didn't really think of that ahead of time. So anyway, it's lost for the world, but I think that's okay. All of that fed into the final build of the robots, which you could see kind of, probably see more or less how this can turn into this photo that you see here. These are, ooh, I'm gonna do this. They got glammed up by my old friend, artist friend here in Baltimore, Felipe Gonçalves, who put some fur on them and put some glitter on them and made them just look wonderful. And now there are 6 of them, and they drive around, and there they are. So a quick little kind of technical walkthrough of how they all work. This is one of these robots. So you can see on the board here on the top, there's the 2 kind of control components are here. This is a board called a Bella, which is sort of like a Raspberry Pi-ish, but it is audio focused, so it can do really great audio analysis and manipulation, and you can run pure data on it, which is what I really like. So I can make a pure data patch, which is kind of the code for analyzing the audio. I can put it on here, and I don't need to have a screen or anything. It just runs automatically. So that's connected to a little Teensy, which is like an Arduino, a little microcontroller, and that job is to take the data that's being interpreted by the Bella and convert it into the signal for the motors. I have a motor controller here, so there's a special little chip that I use to control these 2 servo motors. These 2 chips down here are the power management. Theoretically, I should only really need 1. But I'm bad at electronics, so I've made my life easier and just split it out across 2. But it does only need 1 battery, so everything runs off of this 1 battery. And that's basically the whole thing. There's a little microphone is hidden down here if I want to control it locally. If I want to control it locally, I have to move a little thing, one of the pins. There's 3 kind of controls. There's an on-off switch here. There's a button here, which you probably can't see very well. That changes the mode, which is something I haven't actually used in the end all that much. And this is the threshold for controlling how loud and soft the sound needs to be for it to actually be controlled. So that's the robot that works locally. And basically, to get it connected to the internet and controlled on Discord or Zoom or whatever, I took a massive shortcut. And I just grab a smartphone and I plug it in, and this one is currently logged into one of that private Discord voice channel. And the audio output from the smartphone is going into my Bella. So if this goes into a voice channel, then it will listen to everything that's going on in that voice channel, and you will be able to control it, right? So that's the technical walkthrough. So the way it works is, why don't I drop this one? I believe this one is MusoBot 5. I believe I can just drop this one into the main stadium here. Let's see how it works. Yeah, there we go, it's working, okay. So now it's gonna respond to my voice, but with some latency. Let me turn the camera on. There we go. So now, how many instances of my face do you want to see at once? Because I can give you more instances if you want, but here's this. What's fun about this, when you actually are playing with it locally, is it gives you a really physical kind of manifestation of the latency of the audio tool. I'll give you an example. Boop, boop, boop. So you can actually hear it moving. And it was always crucial to me to have this first-person view as well. I always thought that would be a really important thing. So I'll show you how that works. You can see it working there. It works a little, it's working a little bit weirdly because of this microphone that I'm using. But it is working. I'll drop this one into the voice channel for Lucy. Now, to give a bit more of a demo. Now we have a yellow ball over there. Lucy, do you think, if I drop you here, do you think you'll be able to go up and push the ball? Just like hit the ball? Can you give the ball a kick? Okay, we're all cheering for you, Lucy. I'm going to put the stadium put the robot into your private channel, your salon. Okay, so Lucy is going to try to hit the ball, and I'm going to get this camera going so you can see it. Okay, you good? Oh wait, I didn't turn the camera on for her, hold on. Okay, let's see. Come on. Okay, off she goes. Oh my gosh, I made it too easy for her. Okay, she's gonna maybe try to turn here. Oh, she's turning the wrong way. What are you doing, Lucy? Yeah. There we go. You can do it. Go on. Okay. Yeah. Cut. Yeah! She's gonna do it again. Okay, I think that was pretty great. I'm gonna go rescue her. Or actually, I'll pull her back into this channel. How about that? That'll be even better. Wait, are you coming back? You did it! Well done, Lucy. Hold on, I actually can't hear you. Hold on. Are you saying anything? There we go. There you go. It was a great little victory dance. So I don't know, I'm getting an echo on my headphones. I hope that not everybody's been getting that for a whole time. But that was brilliant. Well done, Lucy. So the things, the kind of like, the things that are interesting so far about this project that I find really interesting, I haven't said, this is how you control it, right? So the controls are basically split out across the keyboard. So it's a little bit confusing because I did them as a very bad trumpet player. So I'm essentially starting on a B flat. But B flat, B, and C all move you forward. C sharp, D, and E flat move you backwards. E, F, F sharp make you spin left, and spin right is G, G sharp, and A. This was the kind of control method that I ended up settling on to kind of mitigate a lot of issues, to make sure that you actually had a good amount of control over the robot without needing to be massively accurate with how you're playing. So that's how I ended up controlling it, and that's how Lucy was just controlling it there, and that's how Lucy was able to get accurate enough to go and play the robot really well. So that worked, I think, yeah, pretty well. Let me just try to change a thing. Yeah, okay. So there's a few things that are really interesting. First, that it turns out to be really fascinating to watch a robot drive around without hearing the sound, right? It's really funny to try to imagine what sounds Lucy is making in order to drive that robot. You don't know. It could be anything, and yet it's just like you get this amazing kind of indirect relationship with the person who's driving the robot. Now, when there's two of you driving a robot in the same room, it's a similar thing. You don't know what the other person is doing in that room to make their robot, but every so often you'll come face to face and you can actually see each other across this kind of digital divide, and you can actually wave to each other and stuff, which is a really funny kind of extra little thing, a really unexpected bonus. So you make these funny connections with people while you play this game, even if the tasks are really basic, like go hit that ball. The tasks kind of have to be basic because it's super hard, right? Like to actually kind of drive around the space accurately takes a lot of practice. Now, the reason I'm asking Lucy to do all this is because Lucy's done it, right? Lucy's actually played with this a few times now, and she's probably the second best Robots for Distant Musicians player in the world. I'm just, no offense, Lucy, I'm just going to go ahead and think that and say that that's the case. And these, so you can set up really basic tasks, and it's still really challenging, but that also makes it legitimately funny. Like, it's really funny to try to drive up to something and just do the most basic thing using the most inefficient set of controls imaginable. It definitely works best with certain sounds, which is a little bit, just something I've had to accept, that like long woodwinds, brass sounds, anything that can hold a single note for a really long time will always work better. And that's just because of the platforms we're using. And the gameplay is this really open-ended thing, right? In a lot of ways, what I've ended up making is more of a game engine than a game. Like you can tack on any type of game to this you want. You can make a thing. Give me 1 second. I think I just worked out why there was some echo in Discord. Okay, so you can make just the most really. You can make a ball game out of this. You can make an exploratory game. You can make a scavenger hunt. You can make a maze. And I'm going to do all those things tomorrow. So I'd like everybody to come along tomorrow and play all those things because I'm going to set up a bunch of activities. But really, it's just like a sandbox game. Or as I think we can probably describe it best. As an MMORPG, right? This is, for me, an MMORPG, which, as we all know, means it's a minimally multiplayer online robot playing game. It's multiplayer, but only for a teeny tiny number of people at a time, which I love, right? Like it's kind of turning that idea of online needing to be massive on its head, right? And you are playing as a robot, and in a way you are taking on a role there, right? By playing as a robot, by jumping into this kind of virtual cockpit and controlling a robot with sound, right? With the one thing that these voice channels are designed to actually transmit the most effectively, which is sound. So if I go back to my original thoughts behind the start of this project, about our kind of relationship with sound being obscure and foreign and asymmetric. I think these robots do a really great job of exploring those problems, right? I think they reveal a lot of the issues that arise with the technologies that we're using now to communicate more broadly, but for sound in particular. And so I'm really pleased with them in that sense. I think they really kind of expose a lot of the issues that we're playing with now and apply them to a kind of playful setting. So that's Robots for Distant Musicians. What I was thinking about doing now was it'll take me a minute, but I'm going to drop at least 2, hopefully 3 robots into the robot channels, Robot 1, 2, and 3 right now. So you are free to jump in and play them. I will answer if anybody has any questions. I'll answer those too. Now, the robots will work best when they hear a single sound, right? So if they hear a single note being played, they will move to that. If there's more than one note going on, they will really get super confused. I don't care, right? Like, that's entirely up to you. You can play the robots however you want to play the robots. If you want to jump in with multiple people and just like watch it twitch out while it tries to listen to all of you, you are more than welcome to. And tomorrow, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, I'm going to be setting up a bunch of stuff just to play all day for fun, and I'll have as many of the robots going for as long as possible. So do come along to that. The kind of rough schedule subject to change is in one of the other channels. I forget which one. The project info channel or the home channel, somewhere in there. And I would love for you to come along. I'll be around all day, so if you want to chat about anything. And that is Robots for Distant Musicians. So thank you very much for coming along. And I'm going to get some robots going. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to maybe unmute. Hopefully I'll be able to actually hear something and ask or type questions in, and I will try to respond. Thanks very much, Lucy, also for helping with me, for everything, for this whole project.
My pleasure.
Great. Thanks, everybody. I don't know, ending online events is really awkward, isn't it? Like, I need to, do I just like kick everyone out? Like, I'm closing time.
End with a robot dance-off.
Okay, robot dance-off. Okay, ready? Oh, should I bring it in here and just like watch it twitch out? Let's bring it back in here. Come on. Everybody. Wait, where are we? Here we go. Is the camera still on for it? Boop. Boop. Where is it? I can't see it. Oh, there it is. Okay, hold on. I'm going to go turn the camera on. Hey. Yeah, man, you worked better than me, Lucy. Oh, wait, of course it won't work for me because my audio is not being fed. Or it won't be. I don't know. Who knows? This stuff's too complicated. What do I know? Okay, you all play with this. I'm going to get another robot going.
Wop, wop, wop. That's funny.
Okay, there should be another robot rolling. Anybody want to try robot 1? Hopefully.
Yes, I would love to try.
Do it, Bao! Go into robot 1 and make some noise.
Okay.
Wait. Oh, you could. Oh, yeah, you could just control this one. But if you move into the Robot One voice channel, you can actually control one yourself.
So I have to move to the other channel.
I mean, yeah, I can move you if you want.
Yeah, could you move, please?
Yeah, here you
Could
go.
you move, please?
Bye.
Sunny, you control this one.
I need to leave to that channel as well.
No, you stay in this chat. You can play the one in this chat.
Yay! Okay, so I'm not doing anything.
You got to make noise. Oh, I can't hear you, actually. Are you playing an instrument?
I'm playing an ocarina, but weirdly, I couldn't hear your trumpet earlier on the call.
Oh, weird. Yeah, your ocarina is not coming through at all. I can't hear it at all when you play it.
Maybe I just need to say, okay, so
It's responding to your voice.
For some reason, it doesn't move in that channel.
Okay, I'm gonna test it out. Boop. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, boop. Huh. Huh. Huh? Oh, yeah. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, my fault. The other one should be working now. I'm going to pop you back in, Bo. Hey, this should work now.
bam. I really want to see you.
That's Bao.
I can't remember which note's which now.
Part of the skill.
Aha. Oh. Damn it. These times would fall, I was like, somewhere there. Too big. You're natural, dude.
Okay, I'm just trying to put a third one in. We'll see how this works. For the test.
It doesn't seem to be moving.
Not working yet? Okay, give me a second. Hold on. Let's see what's going on. Doot, 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 doot. Doot. That's not working right. Doot. Doot, doot. Doot, doot. Okay. All right, that's not working. I'll restart. Oh, wait. That shouldn't be doing that. Doot. 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 There we go. Doot. Doot. Okay. Robot 3 is live. Have fun. Okay, there's a third robot on the go. It's chaos in here. You're doing amazing. This is some excellent work. What I might do is put this robot that's in our main channel. I'm going to give it its own channel, so I'm going to move it over there. Hold on a second. There we go. It means I'll have to turn the camera on. But that was really good. I have set up secretly in this room. I have set up a small family of dinosaurs. So if anybody finds the dinosaurs and knocks them over, then they win. I don't know what you win, but you can win a prize. you can win a prize of my choosing. So I will. I'll get the camera going on that third camera. I'm going to stop the YouTube stream, I think, at this point. Maybe I'll leave it going for a little bit longer. But thanks to everybody on YouTube who was watching. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a line about the project in general. Also, quick shout out, if anybody wants more content based on these robots, I am going to be doing a Twitch stream with the Indiecade folks on the 28th at, I forget what time, 2 p.m. Eastern, something like that. Check the Indiecade kind of press world for all that stuff, and I'm going to be talking about this, and we're going to be playing some games with it then. So if you want to play the robots again, come by tomorrow all day, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern time, and have a play, or come check it out on the 28th on Twitch. It's been great. I'm going to turn on that other camera, stick around for a bit, let you guys play as long as you like. Certainly another 20 minutes, half hour or so. Thank you very much again, and let me know if you have any questions. Should I do some play-by-play at this point, just for YouTube? Looks like Musabot 5 is just headed straight for the wall. Oh, no, you turned it around and coming back around. Okay. I don't know what gender these robots are. Okay, wait, I think somebody may have spied the robots. I think somebody has spied the robots. Uh-oh. Not the robots, somebody has spied the dinosaurs. They have found the dinosaurs. I repeat, which one is that? Hold on, they just did a little dance. Who is that? Who is that? Who is that? Yay! You found the dinosaurs! Well done. That's brilliant. Did you do a little celebratory dance when you found them?
Yes.
It was like it was like a little happiness dance. That's brilliant. Thanks.
Like a screenshot with the diamond.
Yeah. Thanks, Sunny. Hi, Sunny. By the way, thanks for coming along. Right, I'm gonna jump back to the main stadium. Let you all have more of a play. The dinosaurs were found. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye to everybody on YouTube now. Thank you very much for coming along. It's been great. Do come along tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern, if you'd like to play the robot some more, and drop me a line if you have any questions about the project at all.